Welcome back to the Ryka Motors YouTube channel. I appreciate each and every one of you, and if you watched my last video, I just wanted to say thank you. Today, I'm getting back on the baddest S40 Hardtail Bobber in the world, in my opinion. Today, I'm getting all the metal prepped, primed, and painted. So let's get it. Before I get to painting, I wanted to make a custom sprocket cover. So I cut one out of paper, and then I cut it out of metal, and then I added some hexagon mesh to the backside of this to give it a unique flair. Tacked it into place, checked the fitment, and needed to make 3 risers from the back so I can mount it to the OEM factory mounting points on the engine itself. So here I'm taking some measurements, and I'm going to make some round sleeves that will distance it the correct amount from the engine itself. Those are about 3/8 of an inch round tubing, and I cut them on the lathe to the correct lengths. All 3 were slightly different, cleaned them up, and then we ended up tacking them into place on the back side of the sprocket cover. Now I'm going to go ahead and use a die grinder with a wire brush attachment to clean up all the paint left on the factory section of the frame. The front part of this frame was obviously the original Suzuki, so we had to get that paint cleaned up really well. We don't have to take it off all the way, but we want to make sure any loose paint is removed and any of the areas that might have had any rust or anything remaining that needed to be prepped before we put this into an epoxy primer. The next thing I did was purchased a sandblasting attachment for my pressure washer and sandblasted the frame. This works fairly well, however, it's not foolproof. You're going to end up having to clean up some of the areas, but I'll tell you, it does work fairly well. So once it's done, it will flash rust because you're using water, obviously. So I'm using some phosphoric acid here to clean up any of that surface rust that happened from the pressure washer sandblaster. All right, the next thing I'm doing is going ahead and taking a die grinder, 3.5 inch, with an actual grinding wheel attachment and cleaning up any of my existing welds before I go ahead and hit it with a DA sander. Originally, I was gonna just sand this, scuff it up, and prime it, but as you can see here, it had a little bit of rust under the paint. Found some rust under the tank. That means I'm gonna have to strip this all the way down to bare metal. The reason that happens, if you're curious, is if you paint this without an epoxy primer or an etching primer, the rust can form underneath this paint. So we got to take this all the way down. So we went ahead and DA sanded the rest of the paint off completely from the tank and the fender. So we got pretty much down to bare metal. Got a few little spots. I got a couple dings. I have a dent puller. I'll probably pull those out. I don't know, they're really small, so I may just fill them. I got these, all the welds grinded down pretty well. And here, so just got to finish that off. Probably need a little bit of Bondo on this fender. Mainly around the seams. And then we'll epoxy primer these, get them ready for paint. As well as my frame. It's, like I showed you, I put the phosphoric acid on there and got the rust all neutralized. All the rust came off with the sandblaster, but you can't avoid the surface rust, so that stuff kind of neutralizes it. Essentially just gets rid of it. And now that'll be, after a nice cleaning, that'll be ready for epoxy primer as well. Pulled out and welded up the dents. There's a little one there, a little there. All I got left now is to A little bit of filler, even some filler primer might fill that in. Now I'm doing a final once over with that same wire cup, just making sure there's no remaining rust on the frame and it's prepped completely clean before I go ahead and spray it. Well, I'll tell you what, it doesn't look like a whole lot, but this took 2 whole days to get this metal prepped for primer. Yeah, every time I do one of these bikes, I realize like how much longer it takes. You know, you always expect it to go a little faster, but all the parts are ready to go into primer. I'm gonna use, I said it again, I'm using an epoxy primer to seal in the bare metal. And then, yeah, let's just do it. You just gotta make sure everything's really, really clean. Degrease it, wipe it all down, prep all that sort of thing, and then we'll get to spraying. All right, for the epoxy, I'm just using the Kirker Enduro Prime. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. All right, here I'm mixing up the primer and spraying it, and being sure to hit all the angles of the frame. It's really easy to miss a spot if you're not particularly careful when you're spraying. All right, got the epoxy primer on. It looks really good, nice and even. There's a few light spots, but overall really happy with it. Now I'm just deciding on colors. I'm going to, I think I'm gonna do this bike a few different shades of gray. Thinking the dark, maybe a charcoal, real dark, almost black on the frame. A medium or a little lighter on the all the other parts. And then as far as the tins, the tank and the fender, I'm thinking maybe a light gray. And here I had a few last pieces of engine parts to prep. I didn't need primer on these since they were aluminum. All right, so for the parts, everything except the fuel tank and the fender, I'm using a single stage. This is the Kirker single stage. It's great because you don't have to put a clear coat on it, and for pieces like the frame and all these little parts, single stage is just fine. So what I do is I buy a black and a white. In this case, I bought a GM Fleet White, and I have just a jet black. No metallic in either of these. And this allows me to mix up any shade of gray that I want. I'll usually put a little bit on a white piece of paper to test out like ratios, black to white, see what I like, what dries nice and what shades I like, and then I write those down and use them for the different parts. So get started. All right, I got the frame color mixed up. It's almost black. It looks really cool. And now here's a time lapse of me spraying the dark gray charcoal paint on the frame and a handful of other parts. All right, we got the frame and a handful of other parts painted. We're gonna pull those down tomorrow. Came out really nice. I like this color. Let me show you the gray on this piece here. I'll take it out in the sunlight if I can get it without touching it. Let's see. Oh man, it looks so good. Really cool. And once these dry tomorrow, I'll paint up the engine parts and a handful of other parts that I didn't paint. The upper motor mounts I haven't painted yet. The headlight bracket, the sprocket cover, the seat springs are up there, and the kickstand. I think I'm gonna go a little lighter gray on those. But overall, it looks really good. The gray turned out nice. It's got a nice sheen to it. Single stage paint turns out fine as long as you spray it on. You gotta spray it on pretty thick, but overall it looks really good. Got a touch of filler on the weld seams and a couple little spots on the tank. And then I can put these tank and fender into filler primer as well. Once the filler hardened up, I went ahead and sanded it smooth using a radius that matched the bobbed fender here. So last night I felt the frame was too shiny, so I came back in with a flattener and used a matte clear coat on it, and now it's got much less sheen to it, which I think will be a good contrast to the other parts. It was just a little too shiny for me on the frame. I like the frame to be more subtle, so kind of happy with how that turned out. It's basically the same color, just less shine. All right, mixing up medium gray for the small parts. Then I think I'm gonna do a light gray on the engine pieces. And now we're spraying the medium gray on a handful of other parts, kickstand, engine mounts, and here's the fender struts and the headlight mount.
Finally, I'm mixing up a little bit of light gray for the engine.
And then lastly, spraying the engine parts in the light gray color. It's like a medium gray on these parts. Turned out really nice. And then over to the engine parts, I did the light gray. They turned out nice too. And I resprayed the skid plate, the lighter gray, just to have a little contrast. Man, that light gray turned out really cool. Really cool. So now all we have left to do is just body work the tank and the fender. We got to use some filler primer on there, build it up a little bit, sand it flat, and then we're going to paint the tins. And I think I'm going to go a real light 10-to-1 ratio, 10 parts white to 1 part black. It's even lighter than the gray here, so it'll be like almost look like an off-white. And I think it'll look good on these two bodywork pieces, the tins themselves. We'll let this cure, and yeah, I think that's gonna be about it for this video, because let me flip this camera around. I'm gonna let this video finish here, but I have one quick question for you. My last video did pretty well. I was really happy to work on that clutch for my new friend Sinead and get his bike on the road. In fact, we hung out again yesterday, and just a really nice guy overall, just a really good person, and I'm so happy I was able to help him. And so my question is this: would you guys want to see more of the customizing stuff, or do you want to see more of me just kind of giving back to people? I love giving back, man. I love helping people out. Maybe we do some giveaway bikes, maybe we build something, maybe I bring Sinead back in and we build a motorcycle together. I don't know, just coming up with ideas. If you guys want to see more of that and less of this customization stuff, let me know in the comments, because it helps me out, helps guide me, and give you what you want to see. I mean, for me, it's all enjoyable. I don't mind doing the custom work. I don't mind fixing up motorcycles, making them run, but I also like giving back to you know, people that might need some help, or maybe just need a cool bike. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and yeah, I'll do the videos that you guys want to see. And I appreciate you again so much. Like and subscribe, share with your friends, it helps me out. So with that, I'll let you go. Thanks again for watching.